everyone's attention. I'm Tracy Besson from Star Engage. I have plenty of classes for anybody that needs them afterwards. You can find it. Glad to do.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everyone. How are you today with our snow and crazy weather? As Tracy said, I'm Rick Warren. I co-founded and am the co-owner of Balance Acupuncture, which is a two-story wellness center in East Rochester. And we, my wife and I both, Laura Che is the co-founder, my wife. We have acupuncture, massage, Reiki, Tai Chi, yoga. So we really like what we do. I've been doing this for 31 years. I really love what I do. I met Tracy a few years ago, and she, told me about lunch bites. And when you come up with this subject, it's like back in July or March or something like that. And I thought about what my patients and our patients' approach is about. And usually, and it's great that I got to do it in January because we all do that resolution. We all have these new beginnings, exercise equipment sales, and gym memberships go way up. And my point of this whole presentation is to say you don't have to have a gym to do this. You don't have to become a vegan triathlete. You don't have to sit in lonely solitude meditation. You can do all those things if you like. But I'm going to kind of debunk those in a positive way and hopefully give you a replacement that's easy to do. The foundation of traditional Chinese medicine is, it's kind of an umbrella statement, but they say everything in moderation, including moderation. Now, I don't know how many of you are parents, but I have a 17-year-old teenage son. Now, I'm not the kind of parent that hides in the bushes and follows my children around in a car, but I said to him, buddy, and he works at our clinic, I said, everything in moderation, including moderation. Nothing bad happens with moderation, only excess. And I think usually the holidays that we just came out of was, I don't know about all of you, but I tend to do a little more excessive eating or other things that I normally wouldn't do in August. So this is, I feel, timely to do this. Mojo has an interesting older version, the word, and again, remember I came back at this in like July, I think. It became famous with Austin Powers, the movie, Getting Your Mojo. But it really, the old definition is talisman, lucky charm, things like that. The new definition is someone who's skilled to present your talent, to show the world who you are. Those are the more 21st century versions of that. So discovering your daily mojo, and the key is daily. Now, as I said a moment ago, with all the everything in moderation, including moderation, people get so stuck, and I'm not saying anybody here, I've just seen it in life. I gotta do that every day. There's this shame if they don't. So this point is to make this rhythmic, to make it that you don't have to do it every day. If you can do it every day, that's great. That'll be awesome. But I think it's putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to expect to do this every day. So it's to find a rhythm with it. So the 5 healthy habits, which I will show slides in a moment, but it basically is diet, movement, meditation / mindfulness, and writing and reading. Now, most of these things don't cost anything. Of course, food does. Food does, obviously. And I'm going to also, we are fortunate to be in a town that has, out of 35,000 farm markets and public markets, we are #1. I don't know if you know that our public market has been voted nationally as the best public market in the United States. And that's a medium-sized city, so that's pretty impressive, actually. And they're doing this whole redo over there. I was talking to a patient of mine yesterday. We were talking about the public market, and I remember we were going to make pasta sauce, and I went to a vendor. It was in October. It's key to the story because it was in the fall. And I said, how much for a bushel of tomatoes? Now, every bushel in the laundry basket full, right, of raw tomatoes. They said, that'll be $4. So I come from the most working class blue collar family you can imagine, and not exactly wealthy, 6 people in an 800 square foot house. And I saw my mother put together meals that were tasty and interesting. And I know more about food now. At the time, they seemed interesting and I don't know about nutritious, but we did it on a little bit of budget. So again, part of this is also economic when it says healthy habits to enhance your body, mind, and spirit. Because I hear that a lot from people, oh, I can't afford that. I can't afford organic. And the question gets asked a lot about organic versus locavore, like local farmers. Most local farmers don't use pesticides. They can't afford them. So if that argument comes up that organic, which it is more expensive, most of the time if you go to a public market, you'll be able to find something organic or something close to organic. So we're going to flesh out diet in a moment. And movement, that's another thing that's a pet peeve of mine. Now I have a really weird, and Tracy's heard me say, I have a really weird resume. I was in high school as a football player, track runner, got out, or went into the Marines for 4 years, got out of the Marines. Ohio State was my hometown school. I went to Ohio State and to work in the performing arts, ended up being a dance major and a professional dancer for 10 years. And then, during that, I was a marathoner and a triathlete and a weightlifter and all that stuff. And so I've done just about, and I teach Tai Chi and my wife teaches yoga, and I've done just about every physical discipline you can imagine. And some, like my son's in track now. I used to be in lacrosse. And I said, you know what I love about track? It's a pair of shoes. It's not a stick. It's not padding. So there are a lot of reasons we can talk ourselves out of not discovering your mojo. But I'm going to mention a few things when we get into the movement section that are really easy. And it's, how easy is it? One of the main things that all the research show is sedentary is like, you might as well equals early death. I mean, I've seen it in 15 studies. And just simply twitching at your desk, believe it or not, is considered movement. So you don't have to be, as I said earlier, you don't have to become a vegan triathlete and go out. It's great if you are, good for you. But you don't have to be. The meditation part, the mindfulness, as I said, I'm going to flesh all these out by slides, etc. I teach meditation, and this is what I commonly get from people. I don't know how to breathe. Breathing's interesting because if you think of breathing, it's the very first thing we do when we're born. We take a breath. And literally, it's the last thing we do when we die. We exhale, right? That's the first and last thing we do. In between is where it's important, how you breathe. Of course, when we're upset about something, we tend to hold our breath. When I taught meditation, I had this guy come up in my first meditation class I taught years ago. This guy came up to me, who I know. He was an older guy. I'm 63, and at the time I was in my early 50s. He was in his late 60s. And he said, you know, I taught diaphragmatic breathing, you know, inhaling, your diaphragm goes out, exhaling, it comes down. And he goes, for 60 some years, I've been doing the exact opposite. He goes, it's so much easier doing it the right way, quote, right way. So meditation has a lot to do with breathing. And if we can't afford to breathe, then there's a lot of other issues. We can excuse ourselves out of any of the things I'm going to present today. Any of us can. Just excuse ourselves out of it. And, you know, that old thing, what they say that, you know, they say about excuses, everyone's got one. How's it go? They're like a-holes, everyone's got one. So back to the meditation part. I teach my patients, I treat a lot of stress, especially since the election. And whether you like the election or didn't like the election process was tough. And I teach them this, it's called microcosmic orbit, and we're going to talk about that more in a moment, but it's literally 9 inhales and 9 exhales. And it takes, depending on if you do like a really sustained inhale and exhale, it's about 1.5 minutes. Again, if you can't afford 1.5 minutes, there's a lot of other issues of time management, et cetera, and respecting yourself enough to do it. I've taught that to a 7-year-old, 11-year-old. Matter of fact, my favorite, Will is his name. He's not violating HIPAA because I don't give his last name. I taught him this because his mother had a miscarriage. It really stressed him out. And so I do pediatrics. Most of my patients are adults, but every Monday afternoon I treat pediatric acupuncture. And he was pretty stressed out. So I taught him this meditation, and I'm going to teach it today too. And about a month later, he came in and he was doing much better. And his mom told me, she said, you know, it's interesting. The teacher noticed a big difference in him. And he got an acupuncture and done the meditation, the microcosmic orbit. And so he taught it to the teacher. And so she wanted to know what really helped him. And she really wanted to learn it. So again, 9 inhales and exhales. Now you can sit, you can go to the Zen Center over on Arnold Park. That place is awesome. And sit in samadhi and sit in meditation. That's great. But the thing about that, it's not so much there, but if we have our own altar at home and our own place to meditate, it's often going to be very solitary. And some people want that, but sometimes it's very lonely if you're trying to. That's why I like group meditations. At our clinic, we treat, when we do the meditation class, it's a group meditation. We have walking meditations. There's sitting meditation. In the East, it's more sitting, eyes closed, breathing slowly. In the West, we live in the West, it's standing up, moving, eyes open. So we try to kind of find the balance of that's the name of our clinic, incidentally, Balance Acupuncture. So we try to find the balance of the two. And then, and mindfulness, I'm going to flesh out the definition later, but it's an overused word. The word natural is overused. The word wholesome is overused. And the word mindfulness, I think, is overused. I have a mindful candy bar. Okay, all right. I mean, they're using it for just about anything. So we'll flesh out mindfulness. And it really is being here now. What I've seen clinically and in life, people are often either are mired in the past, projected in the future. And when Ram Dass, the famous Ram Dass, who was a psychologist at Harvard, wrote the book, Be Here Now, that's a simple statement, but hard to do. Think about it. We are infected, when I say infected, I mean like a disease, but we're infected and affected by our past, right? It's our teacher. We're wondering about our future. But to be here now, that's mindfulness, being here now. And again, I'll go with that in a moment. And the next thing is, which is one of my favorite things, writing. Now, and you'll see it in the slide later, writing, not emails. I want to make that really clear. And when it comes to the reading part, not emails. So writing is journaling. I got turned on to this by a friend of mine who, he had the greatest saying. He turned me on to meditation and stuff years ago, back in the 70s. He said this about journaling and meditating. He said, we need to build a spiritual reserve. Now, what that means is, whatever that means to all of you, building that spiritual, lying in countenance, sitting in countenance, pausing for a moment, reflecting, and you're building that spiritual reserve. Because when shit hits the fan, and you know it will, because it's life, right? I'm the most positive, like, optimistic person you'll probably ever meet, but I'm also a realist. I didn't just get off the noon bus. This isn't a big city for me. I've been around and I've seen a lot of things, but I like humanity. I like people. And so he said, when you have that spiritual reserve and something happens that's going to test that, you've got a platform, you've got a full tank, you don't have an empty tank to work with. And I always thought that was really good. Writing, which is part of that, building that spiritual reserve, is journaling. Now, journaling can be 3 lines. Back to this time management issue. It could be 3 lines. Have a blank book. You can make your own book. You can buy a book. Barnes & Noble has like sales on journals. Like, when you first walk in the door, Barnes & Noble, they have those for sale books, those Zen Doodle books, and they have all that stuff. Sometimes they're like $1.25, or you can just use a notepad. Whatever. I like to dedicate a book to it because it's got like that, that just has that feeling, that honorable place that I'm going to write. So my friend, his name's Don, one thing he said is, when you're journaling, it's like your biography, because it's coming from you, right? I'm not writing Tracy's words down. It could be something somebody said that inspires you, but you're really writing your biography. And I always thought that was great. So when I meditate, I write, I journal at night, and you can do it any time of day. Again, the whole point of this lecture today, or commentary, is ease. Make it easy. Don't make it hard on yourself. And the last one is reading. Now, we're going to go over what reading does, but I think it's the one thing of all these 5 things that we take for granted. We read signs when we go out. Turn left, turn right, stop, slow down. We read all day. We're always reading, right? I mean, that's just commonly what we do. So this is more enjoyment reading. It doesn't have to be fiction, but just getting a book. And that I said earlier, not emails. And electronic books are fine. I thought I would literally be the last person to ever have an electronic book, ever. And so now I travel, because it used to be my family and I were like this with books on vacation. Now, I pop my iPad open and I've got iPad mini, and I probably got 25 books loaded on there. And so it's great. And then when I'm in the hotel room there asleep, I can just pop it open, it's backlit. And so, but you can read fiction or nonfiction. But read a book is in quotation marks. It could be an electronic book. It doesn't have to be a paper book. That's what I said. I thought I would never do that. I was setting up an apartment today in 2017. I would have my Bose docking system for my iPhone with my music. I would have books that I load onto my, I probably have scrolls on the wall that are easy, and you can move the whole thing in probably 20 minutes, and a futon to sleep on. So you can do it easy, you can do it hard, but reading is, I think, the one thing I think of these 5 things that is kind of taken for granted, but really, think about if you're stressed out and you are just reading a book. And what do commonly people say? How was your vacation? Oh, it's great. I got to read like 4 books on the beach. I mean, how many times have any of you heard that or done that? I hear it all the time from my patients. Oh, it's so awesome. I literally got to like chill and read. So my daughter said, you know, when you retire, I said, well, Mom and I own our own business, so I'm probably not going to retire. She goes, yeah, but you're probably going to be doing something where like you help people learn how to read, and you're going to be reading all the time and learning a bunch of languages, right? I go, yeah, that's pretty good take for a 15-year-old. So yes. So reading, not only does it chill us out, because if we're upset, we can just go into it, get into a novel, get into the character development of the novel, or again, it could be nonfiction as well. For instance, I got for my wife and I's anniversary, I got the Hamilton book by Stanley Turnow, the book on that Alexander Hamilton, the famous Hamilton Broadway show, is based on, and it's quite a read. On iBook, it's like 3,000 pages or something like that. But it's just fun. It's a biography, but it's so interesting and involved. I love it. So I'm going to go on and now flesh out the and the key here also is this word, striving. It's just trying. You know, I remember I used to coach football, youth football, and I remember the head coach said to we were going in to play this game, and he said, if you lose 70-0, and you gave 100%, I'll buy the pizza without even blinking. If we win 70-0 and you dogged it, then you're going to do laps for like an hour. The point was strive. That's what I tell my own kids. I said, look, if you're trying and you're getting a C-, they actually get good grades. But if you're getting a C- and you're really trying, I'm good with that. I really am. So strive means to attempt, to try. So Craig's been helping me with this, so I'm new with this. Is that right? Hit the space bar. Am I blowing it here, Craig? Probably. I get so many eye rolls about technology in my house. It's just, I was telling Trace, I took my daughter to get her eyes examined because I thought there was an infection in there. Yeah, thank you. Again, I said reading there is so much information about diet. And I've been a vegetarian for 44 years, and my son, who's a baconitarian, he has to have bacon in every meal. He's still, like at least once a week, he's a very smart kid. He goes, really? Why are you a vegetarian? In the Marines, the food was so bad. I mean, it was literally crazy, bad. And I looked at my buddy and I said, I have a question for you. He goes, yeah. He goes, I said, is meat supposed to be gray? He goes, not last time I checked. So that was, I think, the last time I had meat. I love how I call it angels step in regarding whatever your belief system is, or the spiritual person that's going to just, even they can just say one sentence in a movie line and give you a line. I ran the base gym, and I used to teach workout classes for people, my first duty station, before we got sent to where those funky places they send us. And this guy overheard me talking to my buddy. I said, we are 19 years old. We are fit as crazy fit. We were working out in the gym. We were running all the time, cycling all the time. And I said, I don't feel that great. And this guy overheard us saying that. So he came over and he goes, I wasn't eavesdropping. I just happened to hear your conversation. And he said, have you ever considered it might be your diet? Now I'm a 19-year-old kid from Columbus, Ohio, blue-collar family. I ate meat and potatoes my whole life. Pepper was an exotic spice in our house. So, and I said, no, I don't know anything about diet. So for like an hour, this guy talked to me. He had become a vegetarian. He was the son of a retired Air Force colonel. And he had become a vegetarian the year and a half before. And he said it just was life-changing for him. She talked to me for about an hour, and it got me thinking. And then the week later, he came on and he handed me these 3 books that were about diet and interesting things about meat. And I read them, and then I had the gray meat in the mess hall conversation with my buddy, and never ate meat since then. And it's not that hard. If you can become a vegetarian in the Marines during the craziness I was in there, anybody can. So, and you don't have to be a vegetarian. And again, that's my whole point. It's great because I think there's so much more awareness now about healthy eating than there used to be. And we live in the world of Wegmans. We live in Wegman land. I mean, the best. Marion Nessel, who does a lot of stuff on food policy, came here to lecture at the U of R, something like this, but it was at a bigger venue, like huge auditorium filled with lots of people. And she's, you know, I think either nominated for a Pulitzer or won a Pulitzer on food writing. And she said, oh my, she goes, I've been to a lot of cities, but man, this Wegmans thing is pretty awesome. So it's not hard to eat healthily. And you know, even right here, I have been to the salad bar at this place. And you know, you've got, and I call it the Chipotle method. You can go to a burrito bar. You can go to a pizza bar now. You can design what you like. So healthy eating isn't like it used to be. It isn't hard. And also, I have patients, well, you know, I work so much. I work 70 hours a week and all this stuff. And I said, true. I said, do you ever walk into Wegmans? I said, yeah. So you can get hummus if you like hummus or some type of dip. You can get those bag of mini carrots. You can get those bag of mini peppers, or you can get cucumbers and slice it up. Take 5 minutes the night before you have to go to work. Have a dedicated lunch bag or whatever you want to, Wegmans bag, whatever you want to carry it in. Most places, I'm not saying all, and I get that, most places have some type of refrigeration. If not, it's really not that expensive for one of those little refrigerated those bags. You can put the thing in the freezer part and then put it in to keep your food cold. So, I mean, they're on sale at like Walmart all the time. I go there to get our towels for our clinic, and it's like tons of them there. So healthy eating, as I said, isn't as hard as it used to be. The key is everybody thinks healthy eating is vegetarianism. That's bullshit. That is total bullcrap. It is not. Healthy eating does just not mean vegetarian. I was reading a study by a scientist, and he said, he goes, diet is by far, over all the things we do, is by far the most powerful intervention we can do for our health. By far. No, I mean, exercise is great, but this is more important than anything. I tell my own children, I said, look, I can't control the madness in the world, but I can control what I stick in my mouth. And I said that to my own son, who was about the baconitarian. I said, control what you stick in here. No, I like French fries. I eat onion rings. I like veggie burgers. I mean, I eat all that stuff. You know, I cook. My son is he just is always confused about how, and he's, like I said, he's a smart kid. I cook meat for my family. I don't eat meat. I don't taste it. I haven't eaten it. I don't eat fish. I don't eat any flesh type. But he said, how do you cook a steak at perfect temperature? I said, have you ever noticed when I'm cooking meat, because I cook a lot. My wife and I, who's ever home, we cook around our kids, who's ever home, cooks. And I said, have you ever watched, like, I'm like this with a meat recipe. I'm really, really looking at it intently. But we have Wegmans, but guess what else we have? Dr. Google. Dr. Google is the biggest physician in the world, has the biggest far-reaching ability to give us what we need. So you get all these wonderful slides that that I'm presenting. This is from Google. These are all, I mean, I had 5,000 to choose from. So we live in the age of Google. Healthy recipe, healthy, quick recipe for lunch. Mark Bittman, the food writer, the New York Times guy, he went to, what happened with him, he's a food writer, and he did those 4 ingredient things on the New York Times, and their little, their video chat when you click on their front page of Mark Bittman's recipe for the day, 4 ingredients. He said, if you can stir fry, make a salad, make beans and rice, you can healthily eat. He goes, in a stir fry, you can have whatever you want. You can have fried pork in there if you want. You can do whatever you want. He wrote a book called VB6, Vegan Before 6. He went to his doctor, and it was his annual physical, and the doctor said, your cholesterol's high, you're borderline diabetic, your triglycerides are off the chart, and you're 30 pounds overweight. And so he said to his physician, well, what do I do? And the guy, I think the guy was kind of, according to Mark's lecture, he was kind of half kidding. He said, become a vegan. So VB6. He became a vegan from awakening until 6 p.m. He goes, look, I'm a food writer. I review restaurants. I don't review vegan restaurants. I review restaurants. She said, from waking until bed, or waking till 6, who's vegan. After that, Korean barbecue, sushi, fried chicken place. So, and 6 weeks later, back to his doctor. Lost 38 pounds, normal blood work across the board. Triglycerides, blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, 100% normal for his age and height. And that was VB6. And I think the key to it, though, was he didn't do a lot of processed foods. And all the stuff you read, like the Consumer Reports has a wonderful, they have their health letter that comes out every month. They had a cover story maybe about 4 months ago, and it's called Part-Time Vegetarian. And what it says is, you can eat meat, but like this, one of the researchers said, I have a burger, and I have just as much salad as I do my burger. So if I have a burger, and believe it or not, lettuce and tomato, that's still in the vegetable kingdom, and onion or whatever, put that on your burger if you like. So again, I'm not saying any of you are using excuses. I'm just saying there are excuses that people say, well, you know, it's really hard. You know, I only have, where I work, there's only me. It's kind of hard to believe that unless you work at the Frank Perdue chicken processing, you know, that there's just meat in any, and look, if, like I go back to it again, if you can be a vegetarian in the Marines, you can be a vegetarian anywhere. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not saying be a vegetarian. So the main thing that all the research says is, and you've heard this before, eat more plants. It doesn't mean just plants. It just says have more produce in your diet, fruits, vegetables, any variation on the theme. First off, it's great for the colon because it's roughage, right? And like I have patients that I'll say, well, there's a great detox that I tell everybody to do. It's great, it's easy. You take warm water before you do your morning pee, your morning, don't have any coffee, tea, go heat up water, put it in a teacup, squeeze a whole lemon into it, fresh lemon into it, drink it. It detoxes the liver daily. It flushes the liver out. My friend who I used to coach lacrosse with, he said, I wasn't even trying and I lost 10 pounds because it just gets rid of that debris, right? It flushes your liver out. Then you can go and have your coffee, your tea, your meal, your whatever, your yogurt, whatever you do. But start with that. That's an easy one. So, right? Whole lemon, squeeze in warm water. I'm not a hot water guy. I'm a warm water guy. And so warm water, and it doesn't have to be spring water. It's better if it is, but squeeze that in and drink it. Again, doesn't have to be every day, but I do that at least 4 times a week. And first off, there's a buttload of vitamin C in lemon. Get that citrus, it's going to dredge the liver, a little pulp in the lemon. Plus, you're going to get that vitamin C hit. And people go, well, I have reflux. This happened with a patient of mine. It was, well, I have reflux. I said, then I'm going to dilute it more. Just put more water in there. You're still going to get the benefit. So, and lemons don't tend to be tough on reflux like oranges or grapefruits or things like other citrus. So not limes, it's lemons. So the key is eat more, and we have so many things that are availability to. We have farro, we have buckwheat, we have, I mean, it's funny when there's a really cool book out. It showed all of the, they took a culture, a lunchtime at every country. It was really cool. France, Italy, Korea, China, the US, Canada, and they spread out. It was like just a still photograph of what was available or what they ate. Oh boy, we're in trouble. We're in trouble in this country. I love our country. I served in the military for our country, but when you look at the French stuff, right? I'm like, oh my God, that's what they give at lunch there? And the Korean stuff and the Japanese stuff and the great sushi and the Korean, the kimchi, which is all great for your gut health and stuff. So I was like, wow. And I'm not trashing our system, but I think we could do better. And of course, you hear that's what's great about here, because they actually are offering better food here, I've been told, right? I mean, they're much more concerted effort of offering more nutritious food here, which is awesome, which is great. I applaud that. But you know, it's funny, in any culture, doesn't matter, any culture, primitive or advanced, when you were sick, the first thing they ask you, what are you eating? Number one thing. My father-in-law founded the GI department in this hospital. My brother-in-law is a gastroenterologist at University of Michigan. They both told me, you get a 1 3-hour course in medical school of nutrition. Okay, that's ridiculous. So my brother-in-law, he said, it's my life legacy. He's doing a combination of gastroenterology and also nutrition. He's founding a nutritional department at University of Michigan to deal with GI issues. So, there are a lot of reasons that we can't eat healthy, but there are a lot of reasons we should. We can, and again, remember what I said earlier when I first started the section about everything in moderation, including moderation. I told you a moment ago, I love onion rings. I love French fries. I have veggie burgers. I'm not a purist, but they don't have them 5 nights a week. That's my point. And the researcher said, oh yeah, I have a burger, I have a cheeseburger, but I also have a salad with it. So just always work with the balance. Thus the traditional Chinese medicine's foundation is balance. So we can include brown rice, any of those things. And the key is also, so a quick anecdotal story. My mother was visiting, she's passed away now. Her family was from Alabama. She grew up in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, where I did. And my wife goes, you know, I have had your pork chops twice, and by far the best pork chops I've ever had in my life. And she goes, and my wife's an amazing cook. She's an acupuncturist, but she's a phenomenal cook. And so they went shopping to Wegmans, and my wife, Mom went off on her own, and Laura went off on her own. And so, you know, then they got back, and then my wife is making the salad and the vegetables and stuff like that. And I'm the only vegetarian in the family. She's not a vegetarian, but she does all our mindful eating classes, and she's a phenomenal cook, as I said. And so my mom goes, okay, so first I'd take an all-purpose flour and I dusted it with coarse salt and pepper. Laura goes, great. And then Laura's doing some other things. She goes, and then you turn the skillet on, heat it up, and then put this on. And so she looks over. My mother is dumping half a can of Crisco into the pan. My wife looks at her and she goes, oh, that's why it tastes so good. That's the key ingredient right there. Saturated fats. They kick our ass. They do. I mean, we have record level cholesterol level, record level of diabetes and type 2 diabetes in our country. And it's not just saturated fats, but, you know, just try olive oil. If you don't have olive, try other oils. There's so many other oils. I mean, they have avocado oil, they got walnut oil, they got people who have a nut allergy that don't have walnut or hazelnut oil. But there are so many other options. You can get an organic canola oil. So, I mean, there's so many other options. And I want to say something about organic, just a brief sidebar. I'll give you an example of broccoli. Organic broccoli at Wegmans is $2.39 per head. The organic is $1.99. Or the non-organic is $1.99. It's a whopping 40 cents difference. You go, yeah, but that adds up. I said, look, I shop at Wegmans like 3 times a week. I know it adds up. But look at what you're consuming. Concentrate it consciously. The mindfulness that we're going to go through in a moment. And it'll be easier. And you get a rhythm with it, trust me, you really do. And isn't the payoff great? You guys work in the health field. I mean, I remember my son got he was a football player and he got hurt. We were waiting for his CAT scan, he got a concussion. And just watching, and this isn't with judgment, I say this, please understand that. I sat outside that x-ray room and watched those people that are on gurneys or wheelchairs or something, and they just, their pallor was gray. They just looked unhealthy. They looked like they were just suffering. And that's back to what I said. The one thing of all the things we can control, all the things I'm going to talk about today, is what we stick in our mouth. They could torture you in a prison, and they can't make you like Brussels sprouts, right? Or something like that. So I can't say enough about diet. Again, Google recipe, there's tons of things. As I said, Mark Bittman used to have those 4 ingredient things that you can do. And literally it's 4 ingredients. And it's so easy and so clear to do that. And there's even books on that. Now, I will say one thing, and this is not because I'm a vegetarian. This is really seriously, because I live with 3 meat eaters. There's a lot of stuff about the paleo diet. The people at University of Southern California that did this for nutrition research found, now this was even shocking to me, and I've been around. There is a 400% higher chance of getting cancer if your calories are protein-based. That is shocking to me. Both my parents died of cancer. So it's like, I was stunned by that statistic. 400%. It drops down to just normal when it's 10% after that. So, and you know, the study, interesting enough, didn't say meat. It didn't say meat protein. It said protein. There's protein in tofu, there's protein in nuts, there's protein in beans, right? But those are all plant-based and a lot of roughage, so I'm pretty sure, even though you can read it, I'm pretty sure they were talking about meat. Now, let's talk about different kinds of meat. Fish. Wild-caught fish is the best. when I was making, because I said whoever's home cooks, I used to cook the farm-raised salmon for my kids. Then I read an article about farming, and Wegmans pays extra money. True story. They pay extra money to keep those tanks clean wherever they get that salmon. They actually pay extra money. So it's higher quality farm-raised fish. And I bought some sockeyed salmon, Alaskan wild caught. My kids wanted the pale pink one. They liked that one better than the wild caught. So there is a taste difference, but everybody goes, oh, what about the mercury? 8 ounces of fish a week, wild caught. The mercury that you may or may not get with that is versus what you would get with other kinds of meat is outweighed. So it is less of an impact if you have fish at least once a week, 8 ounces of it. If it's wild caught, there's probably is some mercury in it. You're not going to stand outside and they're not going to be able to, your red go to your head to see if it's too hot out. It's not going to be that much mercury. But it outweighs the detriment. So how many articles do we have to, any of us see, on how not good beef? Now, in my household, my mother's from the South, her family was, pork wasn't the other white meat, it was the meat. Wow, Mom, pork sushi, I've never had that. Wow, pork blood sorbet, I've never had that either. I mean, pork, ham. I can't believe I don't glow in the dark. So again, back to the moderation. If you have beef, I remember I was sitting, my early days as a vegetarian, I was sitting in a salad bar with a woman who's from Paris. And we were at the Ponderosa Steakhouse. Y'all remember those? The very first place they had salad bars was Ponderosa Steakhouse. So we went to the Ponderosa Steakhouse, and I remember they were going by with a tray, the waiter, with a steak on it. And Annette, our friend, looked and she goes, that would feed, one steak, sirloin steak, she goes, that would feed a family of 6 in France. Right, one steak. Because we tend to, and look, I love to eat. I spent 20 years in the restaurant business. I mean, I've worked in 2 5-star restaurants. I've been around the best food that this country's ever has seen at some point. So I love the restaurant business. I love cooking. I love food. I love to eat. And I learned as I get older, and anybody who's over 50 in this group knows that the growth hormone starts dropping at 40. And what keeps it up is regular exercise, good diet, things like that, and which keeps our metabolism high. Metabolism drops like crap over 50, let alone 40. So eating well, eating good food that works for you. Now, there are different cultural influences that we all have. Like people said, oh my God, how could you, if you went to Israel, how could you eat? I said, are you kidding? You ever seen Israeli food? It's awesome. It's all that Mediterranean diet stuff. It's olives and feta cheese and hummus and all that stuff. Or if you grew up in a German household like I did, oh wow, a lot of meat. But I make sauerkraut. I literally can make sauerkraut without the pork. There's so many things you can do. If you don't want to cook, I said earlier, we have a lot of options with Wegmans. Let me see if I can get this right. Okay, so this is what I said earlier about movement. A body that's moving is what matters. And I was saying earlier that not to become you don't have to be a triathlete or run this many miles or do this many push-ups. But literally every little bit helps. They literally did a study where people were sedentary and couldn't leave their desk, so they just had them do some desk yoga or a little bit of twitching, just some stuff like this. I'm convinced, I'm not positive, Carrie Fisher's passing. I know that flight from London to LA. I used to live in San Diego. From London to LA. She had a heart attack on the plane because if you don't you all know that. If you have any weight issue at all, if you're not getting up and moving, the thrombosis sets in, your legs are screwed. My patient's getting ready to go to Europe. I said, get up and walk. Just get up and walk. Even if it's up to the bathroom and back a couple of times, even if you don't have to do the bathroom. So it's that easy to do that movement. And looking in this room, people look pretty healthy to me. And I'm looking out at all of you. I can't say it in the stratosphere that I'm speaking to. But I put these are exaggerated situations, but I teach Tai Chi. I teach something called Tai Chi Easy. You don't get easier than Tai Chi Easy. I mean, it literally is Tai Chi. That's the name of it. I've trained in it. I got a teaching certificate in it because it's debunking. Tai Chi started out as a martial art, and I learned the combat applications of them. And they're really like all this stuff like this, and you go like that, and that you snap. That was a wrist break. There's all these little things that look beautiful and look like a dance, but they can be lethal. The key is the body that's moving is what does matter, what I said a moment ago. It doesn't mean you have to have a gym membership. Walking, getting up and walking at work. Just walk to wherever you need to walk and come back. Believe it or not, that is beneficial and can counter that point that we talked about with the fastest way to, really kind of the fastest way to an early demise is sedentary life. And that's what killed all those big English gentlemen back then. They would get gout from all the pork and the triple crown cheeses they were eating and the organ meats they were eating. They sat around all day, didn't do anything. That's what did them in. They died early deaths. So these are just two, I just thought they were pretty pictures, and so did my daughter. So as I said a moment ago, fidgeting can be a form of exercise. But I want at this point, Craig, are they going to be able to see me if I step out here camera-wise? So there's something called super brain yoga. Now, you put it down right now, but you can go on YouTube. There are 500 different presentations of this. But when you read the benefits of this, and if you can, and now I want to shout out to people with bad knees. I don't have bad knees. If somebody shout out with bad knees, just do it less. I'm going to show it in a minute. It's demonstrating. So the key, and this, they've done this with at-risk teenagers. They've done this with autism and spectrum kids. They've done it with just kids who are acting out in class, and just kids who aren't doing all that. And the positive benefits called super brain yoga. So the key is you take your left hand, or left pincher, you're going to squeeze your right ear. You're going to cross your arms, and your right hand's going to, it's earlobe. See, I got my earlobes here. Now, that's the easy part. I reckon, they say in all the YouTubes, 5 minutes, do 2 or 3. The heck, can squat for 5 minutes. So the key is slowly. So this is, again, you could do this at your desk. You could stand up. Remember when I said just fidgeting? So remember, crossing your arms. They say grab left first, so I just do what or left finger grabbing right first, right grabbing left first. And you're just going to inhale as you go down. Now, you don't have to do a full squat. You can do breathing. Let's go. So I'm breathing in as I go down. I'm exhaling as I go down. Now, what this does, it balances the 2 hemispheres of the brain. Isn't it freaking remarkable? Super brain yoga. I mean, now people with bad knees or have thigh issues, just go down a little bit. It's kind of, again, moderation, the moderation part. So remember, cross, inhale going down, exhale going up. I can't say it enough. You could do it. I was at a conference at the college I used to teach at. A woman named Esther Gokul, she does this thing on whole spinal stuff and all this stuff. And this literally just came to me now. We're all sitting, there's 500 of us in this lab. And she goes, now I want everybody to do this simple exercise to balance your posture. I'm like, okay. I mean, we're all sitting down. And she goes, watch this. She goes, take your shoulder, because we're all, because you're writing, right? So you're kind of hunched over. And so she take your shoulder and she goes, watch this. Rotate it back like this and keep it. Take the other shoulder, rotate it back like that. As soon as I did that, my spine went like a, it was freaking remarkable. I'm like, wow. So rotate it back, and it just sits your posture again, because we hunch over a lot. I used to, Marines, ballet, I had the most erect posture a human can have. What do I do all day? I'm bent over patients. So I'm kind of hunching now, so I'm always going. So that and this, and remember, so you're not rounding your back. You're trying to keep your spine straight if you can. And just swallow it, okay? Super brain yoga. So that is in this movement piece. That it's that easy, folks. It's not hard. And that's the, and I know I sound, repetitive, which almost to ad nauseum, but the whole point of this thing is to be easy for you, not hard. So what this does is it oxygenates the blood cell by doing the super brain yoga. It helps, as I said before, balance the hemispheres of the brain. It helps benefit the nervous system. And that's why it's been so great for at-risk kids or kids that are acting out. And so I get asked all the time, what do you treat with acupuncture with kids? I get that 500 times a month. And I said, kind of A to Z, allergies to zits. I said, but I've treated an infant that had 1 kidney operating and helped his other kidney operate. I've had compromised immune system kids. But one of my favorite things is I've treated a lot of Tourette's, right? A lot, because it's that twitching and everything that happens. There's so many ramifications of Tourette's.
because I was in the Marines, my wife swears I have Tourette's because I can't shut that Marine mouth off sometimes, you know. And I said to both my children, I said, it'll be a miracle from any deity you believe in if you're not profane. And my son goes, too late, Dad. So, yeah, and when I'm doing an intake with a patient, I'll often say, that sucks. Oh my God, that fucking sucks. And I go, yeah, you got the profane acupuncture, sorry. So with kids, a lot of the kids I treat with Tourette's, it's more of a twitching. Like I have a patient, she'll do like a real high, she was just in my last patient yesterday, she'll just like, she'll hit, that's her form of Tourette's, she'll do a high pitched sound. Or she'll do, you know, facial twitches and stuff like that. And to be able to treat that is so awesome, and see it go away for them, it's so much awesome. It's just so awesome. And and we teach them things like this. We teach them Tai Chi, we teach them meditation, we teach them movement. So doing the super brain yoga is really good for those type of things because it balances the right and the left brain, as I said before. Let me see if we do this, Craig. Let's see. Yay! Meditation. Oh, this is a big one. Everybody, apparently, the only people that meditate are from Asia. Nobody else meditates. You have to go to Asia or go to an Asian-based meditation place to learn how. Wrong. There is such a huge tradition. Let's just take Christianity. This is a Christian Judeo country, primarily, not just. And there is a huge tradition of meditation and contemplation in that field, So it's not just Asian. It's not just Buddhist. It's not just Hindu. It's not any. It's all over the world. It's worldwide. But the main thing it's great for is right here. Mental hygiene. Not only does it do physically reduce stress, reduce depression, reduce anxiety, reduce panic attacks. It not only does it do that, but it's just that pause to reflect, however, whether it's 30 seconds or 3 hours, it's your reflection, not mine. Just taking that time, that's why they call it mental hygiene. It really helps the health of who we are. That's up there with food. That's up there with food of just like, because when you read all the studies you read say diet and exercise, diet and exercise, diet and exercise. I used to be the official acupuncturist of the San Diego Triathlete Society. I am an OCD person, and those people make me look like I've never said that word. They are the most OCD, crazy, obsessed people. They do the Ironman in Hawaii, which is a 2.5 mile swim, a 115-mile bike ride, and a full marathon. They're insane. And I used to be their acupuncturist. So the one thing, they had the diet and the exercise down. They had to have some mental fierceness to get through an Ironman, but they didn't, their tank was, remember we talked about the spiritual reserve earlier in the beginning of the lecture? They kind of lacked that. When they were done, they were done. I mean, they didn't build that platform for themselves. So meditation, and it's funny, they did was it Sports Illustrated, I think, last year, went to 10 top athletes. LeBron James, come on, the LeBron, the king himself. It was LeBron James and whoever was top in their field in the major sports, football, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, etc. Almost to the person, I think it was around 80%, said they saw the whole game in their head. They stopped, they put headphones on, and they would just sit by themselves and watch the whole game unfold, how they were going to play it, how they were going to do it. And these are all the top people in their field. So and LeBron James doesn't have a special mindfulness meditation chip in his brain. So you are able to do that too. And the word mindfulness is, as it says right here, bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment. We talked about being mired in the past. We talked about being projected in the future. And this is a little difficult. I'm not saying this is easy. But what it does is it takes you away from negative thoughts. If we're thinking about the past, I mean, unless you had I didn't have a bad childhood. I had a normal blue-collar family childhood. I mean, it keeps, if we're mindful being here now in the present, it keeps the thought process more, it can make it more positive, which I think is great. Now, mindfulness also gives us an opportunity to just take, because you're being here now, to take the rumination of all the stuff that's coming at us and slow it all down. So this actually can slow aging as well. They say mindfulness and meditation literally can slow aging. Literally, not kind of. And also the way we age in our face and even our countenance too. So the one thing that I didn't tell you about, or I mentioned a moment ago that I'd like to share with you, is the microcosmic orbit. Now, think of from here, your tail, your coccyx, and think of, so if I'm standing, so it's going to go up my spine, I'll tell you that, over the top of my head. You pause for a moment on the inhale, exhale, and I'll explain how that goes. The microcosmic orbit, you use yin and yang, right? That famous circular with the S through it, one side's dark, one side's light. Within the dark field, there's a little bit of light. Within the light, there's a little bit of dark. That's the balance of yin and yang. So you're using the image of fire. You're breathing up your spine, right? This is the 9 inhales and 9 exhales. So it's going to go, you're going to think of any of those things that are causing you stress. And you know what? This is what I tell my patient. It's your stress. It's your stress. It's your stress. Not mine. I don't want to color that at all. And even when I'm about to, the image I'm about to give you, it's your color of fire. Not Tracy's, not mine, not Christ. It's your color of fire. So use the image of fire. All those things they've written on a piece of paper, you want to burn them up. So you're inhaling and fire, like a dragon going up your spine. Inhale. You're going to pause for just a millisecond. It's just like you're pausing right here, just for a second. And then you turn the fire to water. You've burned up all those things that are causing you stress, or ashes. So then you turn the fire to water, and it's going to wash down your forehead, your face, your chest, your abdominal, past your belly button, past your genitals, and like you open the door with a dirty bucket of water you mop with, and throw it out. Start it again. You burn it up, wash it away. You burn it up. So yang is fire, yin is water. So you're just doing that cycle. It's called the microcosmic orbit, means right circle, right? So it's a microcosmic orbit. 9 inhales and 9 exhales. You can do standing, sitting, or lying. 100% I'm knocking out 100. You can't do anything. 80% of the time, 85% of the time, my patients fall asleep when they're doing it. And this is what I always say. While you're doing this, they're lying on the table with needles in them. While you're doing this, if you fall asleep doing it, the breathing police are going to burst in the door and go, hey, you only did 7. You're supposed to do 9. 9 is a healing, why 9? 9 is a healing number. If you go to the Forbidden Palace in Beijing and you see 9 dragons sculpted on the front of the Forbidden Palace, that's the protector. Dragon's the protector. So there's 9. 9 is a healing, the protecting number. So we do 9 inhales. You can do 18, 27, 36, 45. You can keep going. But doing variations of 9 if you can. Okay? So that in itself is a form of mindfulness when you're doing that, right? Because you're being very deliberate. You're there now. You're taking, and now there's a little bit of the past because you're writing things that are causing you difficulties. You're writing them down, burning them up. That image, you're burning them up. That could be something in your past. And I used to work in the abuse community, and I can't even imagine what they're going to write on those pieces of paper. It's stuff. So, as I said before, meditation is mental hygiene. So it boosts the immune system, as we talked about before. It helps us have more positive emotions, which is nothing wrong with that. It decreases stress. Number one, most important thing, decreases stress. It decreases anxiety, and I said before, and really lowers panic attacks. Any of my patient has a panic attack, I teach them this meditation, the microcosmic orbit. But it also, one thing that is important, it decreases pain. I'm in the pain business, right? I diagnose people with pain. I do a lot of fertility work and things like that too. But it decreases pain too, and people don't know that about meditation. That thing I just showed you, if pain is written on that piece of paper, it's going to help if you're burning it up and washing it away, right? It's just going to help, even if it's temporary. And I'm not anti-medication. I can stand up here and I do natural medicine, but I'm anti-inappropriate medication. So if you can do it naturally with breathing and imagery work, rather than, my sister died of a fentanyl overdose, full disclosure, in the day after St. Patrick's Day. She was in a serious auto accident, 10% over what over a dose of fentanyl is fatal. I don't even know what dose she took, but it was fatal. So she didn't want to do it. We tried to intervene and do things like this. We tried to teach her stuff like this. No interest. So it really is good for pain. But it also helps focus and attention. So anybody with ADD, ADHD, any of those type of things, it helps focus it, right? Because you're focally, having them concentrate on something. And this is another thing, and I will take a short sidebar on this because I don't know, I've got 5 more minutes. I know I talk really fast too. What people often say is, when I'm sitting there, I can't shut my mind. That is the #1 thing I hear about meditation. I just can't shut it off. So thought about that. I said, okay, you're sitting meditation. We do, because I teach meditation. You're sitting in our beautiful yoga studio. I said, you're sitting there, and I said, let's think of body of water. It has to be moving body of water. It has to be a river, stream, something moving. I said, here comes a stick. Gotta go to Vikings afterwards. Gotta pick my daughter up from Dolly House. Gotta take my son to the across. Each one of those sticks that are floating by in that body of water has something written. Here's the key. Thank you for visiting. Keep going down the street. Thank you for visiting. Keep going down the street. Thank you for visiting. Keep going down the street. And I guarantee I've been 100% successful about this. Within 5 minutes, you're down to 100%. Because part of the Sanskrit word for meditation comes from the word medicate, medicine. It's the same root, right? To heal, right? So the Sanskrit is empty mind. Get empty their mind in 2007. Sorry, Raleigh, they're here. They've heard me cuss already, so sorry about it. But who can? I've tried for years to do that. Zero success. And I don't know anybody that has had success with that either. So just try the stick thing. Just like really want. And it really gets down because remember, you're using smooth water going. The water's moving. The water, and just keep moving it down. And you don't concentrate and fix on it. And again, there's no police going to burst through the door, get you fixed on that on the Wegmans thing. You should have let it go. Next one, let's see. Writing. My daughter came up with these little GIF things. I didn't even know that existed until last night. This is what I said about the inner biography journaling. There are so many positive attributes to writing, and it's physically writing with a pen or a pencil. I'm not against keyboarding. It's the world we live in. But I'm just saying it literally maps the brain. For any parent in here, this disturbs me. I can't even say how much. They don't teach any cursive in school anymore. And I had a patient who took her pre-SAT, and she told me her younger sister didn't have to learn cursive. I said, are you effing kidding me? And I literally said that to a 17-year-old. And I said, are you effing kidding me? She was, no. I said, what if the grid goes down, you have to sign for a document? Let's just say my kid's handwriting sucks. My kids are smart kids, but their handwriting blows. It sucks. It does. Because they don't write a lot. They keyboard a lot. They text a lot. So you, as I said before, you are doing your inner biography. And this is, in its sense, evoking mindfulness, right? Because you're putting pencil or pen to paper, or quill, whichever you want to write with. You're achieving a goal. I want to write my thoughts for the day. You've achieved that goal. Even if it's in one sentence, it doesn't matter. Again, there are no policing this. It's your emotional intelligence. It's who you are. It's your thoughts, right? And that can help take some of that debris. I remember when my son's a really good artist. He doesn't pick up anything. When he was like 7, he got really frustrated with me. I said, go draw. Go draw. He goes, what? I go draw how you're feeling right now. Because he was, there were sketchbooks all over our house every vacation we were going. And he had this amazing picture. So in a sense, you're doing that emotional intelligence for yourself. You're writing down your thoughts. It boosts memory, which is great. We live in the world of dementia, and Alzheimer's is, boy, getting tough. So it boosts memory and concentration. And it strengthens that self-discipline. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write down a couple sentences a day. That's kind of a discipline thing, right? I'm just going to make myself do that. You don't have to, but that's just a way you can do that. It sparks creativity because you can get as creative or not creative as you like. And I think what I have seen for myself in my own writing, it does boost self-confidence. I'm a pretty confident person, but it helps boost that because it's like, well, these are my words. These belong to me. I own this. These are important to me. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And this is the one I said is taken for granted, I believe. An everyday activity with multiple health benefits, not emails. Keep calm and read a book, as I said before. Reading keeps our mind sharp, which we know. It could help stave off dementia or Alzheimer's by reading. And often it makes us sleep better. That's why it's more important to do more of a book than an electronic book. And I told you earlier, not to be hypocritical, that most of my reading is done. So knowing that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to read, like I'll read journals, I'll read I read Runner's World, I'll read Dwell, which is a design magazine, I like that kind of stuff. Or I'm reading this book, a really good called Boys in the Boat, about the 1936 U.S. rowing team. And that's not a biography, but it reads, or I mean, that's not a fiction book, but it reads like this. It's just so interesting. And the nice thing is when we're reading, we get lost in that, right? We can get lost in that book. You can take it aside from anything that's stressing you out, right? Whenever I travel, I have to have something to read. It's just because I love reading so much. So I have to find something. I never forgot a book, but if I did, I would find something. Even if it's a paper I didn't want to read, I'd read it. So those are all of these things that I said today. One more. Thank you. All these things I've said today, there's a rhythm to it that you have to create. I can't create that. I can make recommendations like I tried to do today. But it really is your rhythm. It's what you decide is important. And these will go through different things, right? Like you exercise more at the beginning of the year, you know, but I'll tell you, being a runner, I don't love going out in this stuff. My running goes to crap when this weather. And I'm not anti-winter or anything. When it's spring and beautiful out, I'm out there cranking on the canal path. So there'll be rhythmic that way. Help some slack. The Chinese say you're more internal in the winter. It's our time to reflect, to look inward. And we're in winter right now. So so keep that in mind seasonally too. And keep the moderation part in check. The Chinese say that the cause of all, that's a big word, right? Internal diseases is constrained emotions. So if we're doing these kind of things, that's going to help counter that. That's going to help be an antidote for that. So you can identify a disease, oh, that sucks, I shouldn't do that. Okay, that's great, you're pointing your finger out about what antidote will you create for yourself to counter that? And that's what it is, you're creating the cure, right? So whatever it is, the most important thing is to find out how that reduces stress and make you have your mojo, get your mojo back. All right, thank you everyone. I really enjoyed this. So good luck with your mojo.